Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 067 of the WA Running Podcast as we record on Monday the 24th of February 2025. This week's episode, we cover results that include the Marathon Club Point Walter Run, Strive Program D, WA performances at the Osaka Marathon, along with the final Perth Trail Summer Series Swissmurdie. In this week's interview, we caught up with Chris Lark and Curtis Simon-Menasse, the brains, trusts and race directors of the Runningworks event series, about their upcoming Lark Hill Ultra, which is on this Saturday, the 1st of March, along with their suite of Runningworks events. Now, across my screen is someone that was originally assigned to lead bike duties for yesterday's Point Walter Run, but was relieved of his duties without a reason why. Chris, the no bike short, how are you, mate?
Yeah, a little bit sad, Simon. I was looking forward to running the bike. It's an opportunity I hadn't had previously, but never mind. I guess there's always next time. I think Nick John made a comment about him maybe being the superior lead cyclist because he always tells people to keep right instead of left. But maybe next time. Doing the setup was good fun anyway. I got to talk to a few people down at the Marathon Club and got to talk to the famous/infamous Rourke Grant of Phase Photography too. So
beautiful. Yeah. How's Rourke doing?
Yeah, good. Sounds like he's training, actually. He's been running a lot. Obviously, he doesn't race very much because he's always photographing these events at the Marathon Club. But it sounds like he's training for something big toward the end of the year. So looking forward to seeing what that looks like.
I have noticed that you haven't really been purchasing any of his photos lately. It used to be something that every time you and I race, we would instantly buy his photos. So an instant $50 into his bank account, but not so much lately. What's the reason behind that?
It's nothing to do with Rourke's photos, that's for sure. They're always very good quality. No, I think it's just with a European holiday coming up at the end of the year, just trying to pinch the pennies where we can, and race photos at the moment aren't high on the priority list. So
fair call. Sorry, Rourke. Maybe after the European holiday. So when are you back? Like September, right? So.
Back in September. So maybe Perth Running Festival, there'll be a grand splurge.
Mark that in your calendar. Phase Photography. How's your training week, mate?
It was pretty good. I had a down week this week, so I ran around about 100 Ks for the week, and just kind of had a couple of sessions in there. Probably ran yesterday's Point Walter Run too quickly. Had intended to kind of run that at a steady pace and ended up getting caught in a bit of FOMO with a couple of our guests of the Bunbury Lighthouse series. So had Ashley Ritson and Dave Perich running there, and I was caught kind of in between them at one point, and then eventually dropped off the back of them because I didn't want to go run 4-minute Ks for 16 kilometers.
100 Ks being your down week. Meanwhile, I'm very sore for my first 100K week after I think it's probably been a good 6 to 7 months since I've done an 100K week. So it's definitely took a toll on the body, I think.
The DOMs.
Yeah, definitely. So what's your plan for the next 4 weeks?
Probably doing some more focusing in on the half marathon stuff. So with Bunbury coming up, probably do a few half marathon specific sessions, a few progressive long runs in there, and maybe a session or two of some marathon pace work because the gap between Bunbury and Gold Coast isn't all that much, and the thought of running 4-minute Ks for 42 kilometers is terrifying.
Yeah, definitely. So I think last time we spoke about what your goal was for Bunbury was somewhere in the 80-minute mark, right? Is that still the case coming up?
I think so. I think that works out to be around 3:48. So I would like to run around at that 80-minute mark. I guess, it's still pretty scary to me running that fast for that long, but watching Matt Smarilli on the weekend run 3:43s for 16 kilometers and didn't look like he was out of breath, either makes me feel confident that I could, at least run 5 seconds a K slower than him, or terrified that I'm actually behind him now. He's taken off.
Do you have a tune-up race before Bunbury to really test whether or not you can run that pace for that long?
No, but I thought I'd need to probably do one of two things: either do a tune-up race at a half marathon distance, of which there are probably a couple of options in March, or just bust out a very quick 10K, and hopefully that will give me some confidence.
Cool.
How about you, mate? How was your week?
Yeah, so 100 Ks for the first time in quite some time. Look, I don't think I've been sleeping well, which has translated to me feeling quite tired and fatigued. And I think my other reflection is that my nutrition in general has been quite rubbish over the last couple of weeks. So although I was feeling generally pretty good for most of the week, I think it led to Saturday morning being really, really rough. And so my Saturday session was a 2 by 20 minute tempo efforts with 2 minute jog recovery. And even just getting out of bed, leaving the house at about, I think, 5:45, I just couldn't get the legs moving in the warm up. I think my first K, which I usually run from my house towards Neil Hawkins Park in Joondalup, and it's a big downhill. So it actually means that my first couple of Ks are generally quite quick. But I ran the first couple in 5:47s or 5:50s, and that felt hard work. So after the warm up, I just couldn't get the legs moving, and I kind of just bailed on it, and just decided to just do the 21 Ks that I probably would have done if I did the tempo session. But I think that's just the outcome of just not sleeping well for the last couple of weeks and just not fueling right, and probably not respecting the mileage of 100 Ks. So probably just eating the same, sleep being poor, and sort of paying the price a little bit. So I think over the next 4 weeks, the plan is to maintain 100 Ks for the next 4. Really try and focus on much sleep, which is a hard ask being parents, but trying to get as much sleep as possible, but really focusing on the nutrition. So
what about how many whoppers did you have in the past week?
0, actually.
Oh, good.
So that might be the reason why.
Maybe you need some whoppers.
And maybe a trip down a pre-VO2 session whopper meal before tomorrow's session might be the plan. So it's, a big jump in mileage, for me, but very important.
What was your mileage the week before, out of curiosity?
I can't remember, actually. It might have been 91.
Okay, so it's not a huge jump. But
the last 2 weeks have been somewhere in the 80s, 90s, and then 100. So nothing significant. It's probably just trying to find, I think because sleep has been pretty rubbish since coming back from Japan. I think the quality of sleep has been terrible. So hasn't felt like I've caught up. If that makes sense. But I don't think my sleep's going to get any better. So it's probably going to be the nutrition fueling that will be important for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah. And running a podcast on a Monday night probably doesn't help.
I'm hoping the record goes very smoothly tonight, so the edit's nice and short, but we'll see how we go. Shall we get straight into results? Yeah, so we'll start with Strive Program D. That was on Saturday night. We've got the 800 meters and the 5,000 meters, so we'll start with the 800s. So in the women's, coming first is Alana Jukic in 2 minutes 10. She's what we would call one of the big dogs, being a semi-finalist at Paris Olympics. We had Emma Philippe in 2:11 and Macy here in 2:11.92. In the men's, we had Tom Moorcroft at a time of 1:53.10, Anthony Gaselli in 1:53.97, and Oscar Clements in 1 minute 54. In the 5,000 meters, in the women's, we've got Sarah Knox in 17:21, Brittany Moore in 17:39, and Madeline Taylor in 17:59. In the men's, we've got Tom Millard running a sub 15 in the time of 14:49, Jacob Howard in 15 minutes flat, and Christopher Gardner in 15:06. I did see in the men's 5,000 meter list, your rival, Christian Perkis, ran a time of 17:38. So looks like he's finally taken your soul. What was your PB a month ago?
17:48. So, Christian's got me, unfortunately. And I did notice that not running this race, but running on the track at Cannington in a Masters event was Nikola Radosevich. during the week, and he ran a 17:35. So I'm, the boys have taken over.
Yeah. Some summer training has finally paid dividends and it's taken your soul and mine already. Shall we move to the Marathon Club Point Walter Run?
Yeah, we had a beautiful morning on Sunday morning, and it was a little bit windy. It was pretty strong easterly, but judging by some of the results, it didn't look like it slowed anyone down. So in the 5K, we had Catherine Lin winning the women's race in 18:54, followed by Nanette Lorenzen in a time of 19:35, and then controversially, Kirby Ritson in a time of 20:20. Turns out that Caitlin Golding got the socks, unfortunately, for Kirby, because her gun time was 2 seconds quicker. So what it teaches us is that if you want to win, you have to start at the front, right? You don't go at the back.
No. So Kirby just needs to, back herself, right? Escape your older sister's shadow and prove that you are the faster Ritson sister.
Yeah, exactly. In the men's, we had RJ Pollard winning the 5K in 16:53, followed by Piero Moraro, an avid listener. He came second in 17:57. And then Lachlan the Assassin Wenham, he's back from a bit of an injury. He finished third in 18:11 with a PB there. So congratulations to you, Lockie. And I think his partner in crime, Rob Neal, also ran a PB on Sunday. So well done, fellas. Good to see. In the 16 kilometres, we had in the women's race, we had Raquel Casas Huelin in a time of 1 hour, 3 minutes and 22 seconds, followed by Sarah Greenwood, 1 hour, 5 minutes and 1 second. And then our Bunbury Marathon specialist, Ashley Ritson, sister of Kirby Ritson, the Ritson sisters, taking out third in both races. Ashley ran 1:05:53. In the men's race, we had Mike Lawson, perennial winner of Marathon Club events, taking out the men's in 57:45, followed by Lloyd Allen, 11 seconds behind in 57:56. And then Jack Wills in a time of 58:14. It was good to watch those races happen, as they were happening live. And I think Jack went out pretty quick from the front, was leading by a considerable margin in the first 5 or 6 Ks, but I think the other guys reeled him in. Perhaps those windy sections took their toll. There was a kind of double out and back. So, yeah, it was good.
Surprisingly, despite the fact that Mike Lawson podiums or wins a lot of these Marathon Club events, wasn't an age category winner.
That is interesting, isn't it? And I'm not sure what Mike's age category is at the moment. I think he's just transitioned from maybe the sub 40 to the post 40. But I think there's probably some competition in that age category. Maybe Jerry Hill took out that age group win. He was the 35 to 39.
True.
And maybe Mike's just on the cusp of that. So, yeah, who knows? But I think Mike won his category last year. And, he's always a pretty strong competitor in those races. Like I said, Smarilli, our training partner and friend, he ran a pretty swift, I don't know what his finish time was, but it was 3:43 a kilometre. That's all I remember. Yeah. And he looked like he was breathing through his nose the whole time.
Fucking frustrating, hey?
I know, it's crazy.
And you ran with Ashley Ritson for the most part. So how do you think she went performance-wise?
When you say the most part, probably the most part of the first quarter of the race. So I think I was Perich and Alex Vickery and Ordwin had all intended to run kind of 4:05 a kilometre. I said, look, I won't run with you guys. I'm trying to run it's a little bit easier today, being a down week. And then, about a K and a half in, I could hear someone breathing behind me, and I turned around, and there was Ashley, and I said, hey, Ash, and she said, hey, back. And I said, are you going to try and run 4:10s or something? And she nodded, but then kind of signaled that she wasn't intending on talking because she was working. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll run 4:10s with you. And I think the next kilometre was a 3:58, and I was like, "No, I'm not going to stick with you, Ash. I'm going to let you go." So yeah, it was. She looked very, very strong, and I think a big contender for that marathon race in Bunbury in April.
Do you reckon? Because I know in episode 1, she was quite conservative in what her predictions were, or for the Bunbury Marathon. Do you think she'll be able to run sub 3 with Perich?
As Ashley said, as if she can get her 4 runs in a week, I think it's. I think we can count on that. But look, I don't want to put pressure on Ash, but I think it sounds like I met a couple of other people who I hadn't met before, who are also running Bunbury and running in a 3-hour pack or intending to. So it was good for them all to meet and see each other's faces before the race, and hopefully they can all work together in a couple of months' time, and yeah, hopefully all of them make it.
Yeah, and hopefully a better sub 3 bus than us last year with Big Dog and Adrian as well. Right?
Yeah, and it was not a very, very, very good bus last year, was it? But every year has its charms.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on to the PTS Summer Series. So the last race for the series, which is Swissmurdie. We'll start with the black course, the 15.1K. This guy seems to win every race. Pierce 007 Bresman in a time of 1 hour 14. Jeremy O'Hart coming second, and Peter Holcup coming third there. In the women's race, we had Courtney McNally in 1 hour 36, Victoria Hun coming second, and Megan Burns coming third. In the blue course, which is 9.1 Ks, we've got the young gun in Callan Bennett winning at the time of 49 minutes 55 seconds. Radek Zitskowski in coming second, and Paul Henshaw. I feel like we say these names every PTS series, right? It's the same names. And in the women's race, another name we say almost week in, week out, Petra Georgian in a time of 55 minutes and 2 seconds. China Van Wyck coming second there, and Rachel Jovic coming third. And then finally in the green course, which is 6.1 Ks, we have Titch McSwain in 29 minutes and 3 seconds. Diane McSwain coming second, and Darren Carr coming third. And in the women's race, we've got Ebony Reagan winning in the time of 35 minutes, 33 seconds. Kelly Guest coming second, and Danielle Douglas coming third. That's it for the summer series there. I think the next event on their calendar is the Collie Trail Fest, which is on the 29th of March, before the winter series starting on the 18th of May, which is Snakes and Ladders at Serpentine National Park. We'll move on to the Albie Thomas Mile.
On the 20th of Feb, we had the Albie Thomas Mile, which was the National Mile Champs. We had, just a quick mention, because we had our local Max Shervington second place in a very tight finish, finishing behind Josh Phillips. I think it was about a tenth of a second separating them. Max Shervington finished in 4 minutes, 10 seconds, 0.69. And that's his first national medal. So congratulations to you, Max, on a very good race.
We had the Osaka Marathon just this morning, and I think you and I were chatting off air about how bloody difficult it is to navigate an Osaka Marathon results tracker. So apologies, I feel like we weren't able to track any bloody WA runners this morning, but we did see Stu Caulfield running a very swift time of 2 hours 34 minutes this morning, despite running in Corral G, meaning that he had to weave through thousands of runners. I think there was a mix-up with his entrance there. We had running influencer Jack Crago running a PB, and I think his previous PB was 2 hours 43 or something around there. So a good 3-minute PB at the very least of 2 hours 39 minutes and 40 seconds. Did notice that in his Strava he had an elevation of 127 meters, which means that it's perfect training for running the Transcend Relay that he's got planned with Team Crap. So good to see he's taking Transcend very seriously there with a marathon effort this morning. And then finally, Neera Jarab running a very swift 2 hours 42, which is her first marathon in 3 years. And looks like she's had a couple of injury niggles over the last couple of years. So good for her to bounce back with a very, very quick time. Shall we move to this week's interview?
Yeah, so ahead of this week's Lark Hill Party Ultra, got an opportunity to talk with Chris Lark and Curtis Simon-Menasse from Runningworks. We found out that Chris is not only a pretty accomplished runner and a key figure in the WA running community, but he's also an avid squash player of all things, and quite bloody good at it. So not sure what the appeal of squash is, but Chris is obviously an absolute gun at it, and has used that to his advantage with his running fitness. So we also had Curtis Simon-Menasse join us for the chat. He's a passionate trail runner and brings a lot of trail experience and know-how to the Runningworks event series. Here is our chat with Chris and Curtis. All right, today we are joined by the Brains Trust and the race directors of the Runningworks event series, which includes the upcoming Lark Hill Party Ultra on this Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 1st of March. We've got Chris Lark, Curtis Simon-Menasse. Thank you for joining the WA Running Podcast.
Thanks, guys, for having us.
Thank you so much.
So firstly, before we get into the event series, let's start with your own personal stories. Maybe we'll start with you, Curtis. How did you get into running, and how has that evolved over time and to today?
Yeah. Well, I got into running probably a little bit later in my sort of, I guess, mid-20s. I was always active, but I was more, into alternative sports, I guess. And then just to get fit, I would run on the road. And, I guess it kind of just went from there, like running on the beach and then ultimately to the trails, which is what I love the most. So I would sort of search out. I used to love to hike. I still hike a little bit, but I sort of thought, well, why can't I just run it? It's a bit quicker. And then, I just went out and sort of sussed out as many of the local trails, and then I just started running them. And then that passion grew from there to the point where, I would just try and find little circuits and distances, and, I'd find 10Ks here, maybe 15Ks there. And so my real kind of passion is trail running rather than the road. I always get injured when I run for extended periods on the road, but I found that trails just was a really good complement to I guess my physicality, like it would always be a good supplement to riding, and I didn't really get too many injuries. I just love being out in nature as well. So that was the other thing. Like whenever I went out there, I guess I never wore, headphones, listen to music. I just would love to be outside and sort of get away from things. So
he's a bit of a hippie, yeah.
It's burned on from there, in a nutshell. And then, with mountain biking and that sort of thing, it's, a great passion of mine. So that's pretty much it for me in that regard. I try and get out at least a few times a week, even if it's short distance, just to clear my mind, So, it works wonders for me. It's kind of like an active meditation, I guess, when I'm out there on my own. So I love it.
Yeah. Also, so we've seen you. We were doing a quick stalk on you. So you've done like your Feral Pig Ultras, Waters Trail on Foot, Transcend. I think you've done Margaret River Ultra. What's your favorite event and why?
Oh, that's a big question.
That's an easy one. Three Valleys. You
forgot to mention it.
Heaven and hell. Lark Hill Party Ultra.
Look, the ultras are funny things, like as everybody knows, you go through that love-hate thing with them. They've all got something really special. Down that sort of down south region is, going through Borenup Forest, exceptional, and then, parts of the Bib, along with, parts of even Transcend where you're running along through the Avon. I mean, it's all beautiful. Sometimes, I can't say there's one in particular that I love, like not fully, but, because you go through those, don't you? When you're running them, you're sort of like, what am I doing this for? This is ridiculous. And I think actually in Feral Pig, the 2017, that's that's kind of around the time when I met you, Chris, I think, or we
Lark Hill.
Lark Hill, actually. It was Lark Hill.
True.
But we did Feral Pig, and it was 40 degrees. And so I don't have the fondest memory of that, because that was probably the biggest physical challenge of my life. It was like a 40-degree day to finish that. Yeah,
everyone was dying out there that day.
It just was this. I think it was forecast for 26 degrees, and it
by the end of the week,
it went to 40. Like when we were out there, and ran out of water, and like those parts of the bib are beautiful around Sullivan's Rock and Mount Cuthbert and Mount Vincent, but. Yeah, that was probably that was one I remember, not for it being fantastic, but for it being like the biggest mental challenge ever. And when I got in at the end, like 3Ks from the end, I come across these like hikers, and they're like, "Hey, there's a massive fire! Like, there's like this huge fire, and I can see this wall of like this just glow." And I'm thinking, oh my God, am I gonna die? Like, I'm running into this fire. I'm completely exhausted, and they're telling me to be careful. And it was just like, Armageddon. But yeah, I guess in answer to that question, it's like I love them all. Really, they've all got aspects that are really beautiful. I haven't done an ultra in a while, but probably a couple of years now. But yeah, I can't say. Which is my favourite. I do love, if I'm going to talk something up, I do love the Three Valleys region for its proximity. And I love single track. So I love, hitting a good sort of hard single track, hard and fast, bit of downhill. Yeah. That's what I like to do. So
try to keep the question, the answers to a minimum.
Yeah.
Nah, you're all good. You're all good.
I'll waffle on. If you let me go, I'll waffle on.
That's what we like.
Just tell him to stop.
Start talking about the trees and the birds and whatnot next. So be careful.
That's awesome, Curtis. Chris, we'll pivot to you just quickly. As we talked about before the podcast record, you mentioned, or Curtis mentioned, that you're a bit of a squash pro, effectively. Perhaps you could tell us how you came to be playing squash and running, and which came first. Was it the running or the squash?
It was actually I used to obviously do. I'm sure everyone's told you this. They used to do running at school, so I did like cross country at school, and then I think maybe year 10. Like I did the ACC and I finished like 7th. I was like, I'm not too bad at this. So the next following 2 years, like year 11 and 12, I made the actual like cross-country state team, the all-schools one. But at the time, I was actually playing squash as well. And it was only because I had this crazy squash coach that was like making like half the session would just do court sprints the whole time. And it was only because I was doing so much like court sprints up and down the court that I was actually that I found out that I was good at running.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of doing the two things at the same time. But my dad was like, after like year 12, he's like, you're gonna have to pick one of them. And I was like, well, it was an easy pick for me because I just loved squash and I was way better at it anyway. So I went with that one.
So I think you ran in 2019, Chris. You ran a 2:42 at Perth Marathon, coming 9th. That's very, very quick. Clearly, I guess what was your running looking like leading up to that point, and what has your running been since then?
Since then, not that good.
Not that good.
Actually, that's a lie. Actually, the year after was my best year actually of running. But before that, what my lead up wasn't much at all. Actually, at the point, I don't think I was all that good, but I had a friend that I was training with that was way better than me at the time, was Kim Thomas. I don't know if people know him, but he was finishing like top 5 in the state champs for the marathon, and also came 3rd at the City to Surf. And I paced him at the chalet for the City to Surf, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll pace you for the first half, and then you go on after that and do your best.
Yeah.
And anyway, I think I got to like 17 Ks, and that was it for me. And I was like, oh, damn it, sorry mate, like just keep going, you're doing well. But like he came third, and it like really inspired me to like actually train like at my best and at my fullest. So I only had 6 weeks from that time actually to the Perth Marathon, I think it was, and I was just like, I'm just gonna 100% get into it. But my goal was at the time, I'll just pace you for the first half, Kim, and then you take it from there. But then I just got so fit, I was like, I'm just gonna do the whole thing. And we ended up running pretty much the whole race together. So it was really, really good. And so I ended up finishing with that time. It was a bit surprising because 6 weeks before I wasn't all that fit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So did you end up beating Kim even though you're pacing him?
No, he actually beat me by like 10 seconds or something. I think we're at so basically at 25K, I was like, you keep going. This pace is too fast for me. And then he was like, yeah, no worries. And then about, I think it was like 35, 6Ks, I actually caught up to him. But I was like, I know he's not going to let me beat him. So we ran together for like 41K. And then the last K, he's like, come with me. But I didn't hear him, and he just like took off, and that was it. But he beat me by like 10 seconds or so. But
there you go.
But I don't think he was going to let me beat him. So
let's shift our focus a little bit to Runningworks. So what was the origin story behind Runningworks? How did that start, and how has that progressed over the years?
It was actually by chance, because I was running a squash centre in Belmont, and I was quite a good squash player, and then I decided to retire. And so when I retired, I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? I've got to do something to keep fit. Because I decided that was it for squash. I'm not getting back on the court, and so I started doing some running, and I started doing park runs at Canning River, and just started meeting a few people, and then decided. Just before I finished from squash, one of my goals was to tick off a half marathon. So just before that, I did a half marathon. And I was like, oh, yeah, I really enjoyed it. And thinking I wouldn't love it that much, but I did. So then after that, I just started doing a few park runs at Canning River. And then from that, it kind of just snowballed because I did a lot of professional squash tournaments at my centre and around WA. And then I thought, I might, for myself, do a half marathon, which I did at Bibra Lakes. I put my own event on. And then, it just snowballed from there. Then I ended up at the squash centre, so still running the squash centre. I added a bit of running stuff into it. And then, just kept on snowballing.
And so you were over in Hilton for a few years there on South Street, but now you've moved to Brentwood at Blue Gum Tennis Club, and you've got the squash centre up there obviously as well. How has that move been?
It's been very smooth because I actually had Hilton and Brentwood going at one time, but I just found it was too hard going between the two.
Sure.
So Hilton, I ended up just doing Hilton, and then what happened was Hilton got sold, so it's basketball. So the building got sold, so I had to move over. So I moved over to Brentwood. I know the guy really well there. He was quite happy to have me, so I went over to Brentwood, and from then, it's just been over there. So it was a pretty smooth move because I already had been over there before. So
you've got Runningworks, the business, and then you talked about starting Bibra as an event and growing from there. So now you've got a calendar of events, right? So you've got Lark Hill that's coming up on the 1st of March. You've got Canning River on the 16th. You got Three Valleys Ultra on, is it the 6th of April?
That's correct. Yep.
You got Heaven and Hell Trail Marathon. Is that a new event?
That's our first year of that particular. We did an event called the Multi-Stage Ultra.
Yeah,
and
we've revamped it.
We've revamped it.
Took it away, didn't we?
We took it away because we thought the multi-stage would be better suited. What we found, it's a really hard course. What we found is the thing that I wanted to do was make the multi-stage an event that you can't finish. Yeah. So it didn't really go very well for me. So I was like, okay, it's a challenge. It's for any ability. We're going to let you run the half marathon. You can take 3.5 hours to do it. But if you finish it before, you've got to start with everyone else at the next stage time.
Sure,
But what happened was there was the event was so tough that
it just wore everyone down, didn't it? It just, and we had some heat as well.
Yeah, we had it.
Right.
And it just broke people.
But it was I think it was the whole thing of like, what? I'm going an event that I can't finish.
Yeah,
but it's just for fun. You just want to go out and enjoy it and win and every stage you do, we're gonna give you a medal. So it's just, and then it's just a challenge. See how far you can go. But I don't think it went very well. So we thought, I still love the event. So I'm like, I'm taking it to Lark Hill, Curtis.
Yeah.
And then Curtis is like, okay, we're gonna do this crazy we're gonna make this trail course even better, and we're gonna make it have harder sections in it and make it a real challenge for people to do.
Okay.
But you tell them a bit about the course, Curtis.
Well, no, I've been running up there for a while, and we like Chris said, it just got really tough. I think. Hold on, someone did finish it though, didn't they?
Yeah, Michael Hooker.
Shout out to Michael Hooker.
You had him on last week.
Yeah,
we did.
He's the only one that's finished it, I think. So.
Oh no, at the time.
At that time, it was but that was tough. And then, like Chris said, it was it was a case of okay, let's maybe do a marathon there, a tough trail marathon that's technical, that has lots of single track, that is super challenging, but like it's in a great spot, and it's kind of it's not very super popular. So I just went in. We have gone out a few times now, and we've got the course, and I think it's going to be awesome. Like
for people that want a trail runner, they're going to love this course because it's like a full single downhill switchbacks, and like it's a perfect. It's like a trail runner's paradise, really.
Yeah, and then there's sections where, because we have to factor in, like, people want to make moves, they want to overtake. You can't just have this, single track where it's so tight and you're stuck. So there are areas where you can overtake and lots of climbing, and it is quite technical. And that's always hard to do because you want to have people that love technical trail, but it's also got to be kind of, you have to have a balance, it's got to be safe enough, but then you can't guarantee safety, but you do your best. And it's got to be something that like people remember. So I think this is like, we've thought long and hard about it. We've gone out with
it's been like really 5 years in the making, this particular course for us. So it has taken a long time, and we have thought about it for many years actually. So
I think we've got it dialed in. So it should be an awesome course. Yeah, absolutely. And good time of year as well, not too hot.
You've got Bibra in July, and then you've got that duathlon event that's sort of late October, right? The 28th of October. How did the event series, I guess, snowball into what it is today? So you started with Bibra. Bibra obviously went well, and then you've started to expand from there. So how did that, I guess, organically grow over time?
Well, initially I was just going to ever have Bibra late, but what happened was there was a guy, and he's like, "Oh, can you make this Twilight event in Thornley?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." So initially I did this. I called it the Twilight Half Marathon, and it was just a half marathon. It had a 10K, and I think it was just a 10K and maybe 5K as well. Anyway, so I did this event in Thornley, but now it didn't all go that well. Like, I found out that most people don't really like running in the evening as much as they do in the morning. So I changed it a few years over, and now it's called the Canning River Runningworks Festival. It starts in Gosnells, goes along the Canning River the whole way, and comes back. So now it's a much more popular course, and the last 2 years it's actually, last 3 years it's actually, the entries has gone pretty big in it. And from that one, then I decided I wanted to make a trail event. I don't know why, but I decided I did. So I ended up doing one at the Spectacles, and it was like an 8K looped course. But then I realised that it was this flat, pretty easy course. And then I realised it's probably not like the course that I would want to do. So I got rid of it, and then we started really working on some really good single trail, really fun trail courses.
Yeah, I think that's how we kind of kicked off some of the trail stuff. Is I met Chris obviously running in a couple of events, and then I came and did some interval training with him, and then
Curtis had these great ideas of
I had like a grand plan.
He had some really good ideas. Actually, Curtis came to me with Three Valleys and goes, "I've got like literally the best single trail course in Perth. Like, let's go out and have a look." And so we did it, and we worked out a course. And we actually think it's the best single trail course in Perth.
Yeah,
and then
we've had some good feedback.
We've had a good feedback, and all the best trail runners have pretty much said that they believe it's the best single trail course. And then we obviously made a couple from there. Dave Kennedy also did Lark Hill, but that's a race that was my first ever trail run, and it was a course that I just always remembered. I always loved running in the evening and at night, I've always loved that. And when he said that that he's finished with it, would you like to take over? I was just like, yep, I'm definitely doing that, because it's always been my favorite event that I've ever run.
And there's no family relation to the hill, is there?
I know. How crazy is that? Absolutely not. And so that's actually one of the reasons why it was my first trail course. I was like, Lark Hill, well, I have to do that one. That's my surname.
Crazy. It's crazy, isn't it?
And then I was like, do you need a sponsor? And then I ended up sponsoring the event for like many, many years.
Yeah, cool.
How did you get involved, Curtis? So from the start, or was it when you were pitching the ideas around Three Valleys?
Yeah, pretty much just, I was always running trail, and I just thought, this would be such an awesome course, like with Three Valleys. Like I can't believe, no one's doing this event. Like, I just had this sort of
and we were friends,
idea, and we were friends. I think we actually, like I ran Lark Hill, I don't know, a while ago. And so, it's just weird how it all comes full circle. But then we just went in on Three Valleys, and, we getting approval because it's in a water catchment area. So you got to go through Water Corp as well as DBCA. So it was a bit of a mission to get that off the ground initially.
We actually think some people tried, but they just couldn't get around being able to do the course for some particular reason. But I think... we might have been just lucky at the timing of when we wanted to. Yeah,
and now we got good relations with Water Corp. So, and it's at the Bickley camp. So we hire out that campground, and that's really, I guess, where it all sort of started. And then the ideas go from there. And of course, there's so many events on the calendar now. If you rewind the clock, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, there was maybe 2 ultra marathons, or maybe 3 in a year. And then now it's like almost every other weekend you can run an ultra. So we got to be very, respectful of the timing and what everyone else is doing, and to still maintain our individuality and focus on making like really good, strong events and really fun events, and challenging. Because when I run trail, for example, I want a bit of a challenge. I don't want to run just along, some fire trail, easy. We just came up with an awesome course, and then from there we came up with it was a multi-stage ultra, and then we both cycle as well, and then the duathlon and Runningworks festival, Perth Duathlon, that's going great guns. And now Lark Hill, which I ran years ago, the 100k, it nearly killed me. And Chris was doing the timing there, and so everything's sort of quite synchronistic, how it's all worked out. And now we're back next week doing the event together. It's really funny how it works, Just have to get the timing right every year for the dates. So everyone has enough time to do everything they want to do as well, because it is very competitive out there now with getting this sort of stuff right,
So many events going on throughout the year. You guys have got your events, and then there's obviously you're contending. If you're talking about trail runs, you're contending with PTS, Ultra Series. There's a whole bunch of different people organising these races. I mean, do you have good relationships with those guys to try and like work around each other, like, or do you kind of try and pick a weekend and then kind of stick by it, through every year?
Initially, we did like try to work around, like work with everyone, work with the dates. But I think just because everyone's got so many events, it's just impossible now to just work with all the organisations to find a date. Because you look in the calendar and literally we put on an event and we're looking at the calendar, we're like speaking about it for like a week before we can actually put a date on, because there's just so many events. We're like, where can we put it? So now we just have to do it by us. We can't, because if we get all these opinions from everyone, we'll just never be able to find a date. And I'm sure like that's everyone else is doing that as well.
We are mindful.
It's just impossible.
Yeah,
we are mindful. We do our best, but to keep it away from
best,
everyone else's. But
another event will just pop up on the calendar all of a sudden.
Yeah. And I think everyone's waiting to see where everyone else is doing their events to do it, and then all of a sudden everyone's got the same date. So it's just one of those things.
And running's tricky because you can't you won't put a trail event on in the middle of summer, like a really, it just doesn't work.
Well, you can.
You can, but we don't. Because you do want to have those conditions, and the pea gravel in some areas is just super sketchy, really slippery. So, we've got to consider that as well, because there's lots of sort of technical aspects to the course that in summer it's way too dangerous. And it
depends on the course, obviously.
Yeah, but you do want people to have a good experience as well. So, like you remember like that, running in this super hot event, you just think back to it and you think, oh, I can't do that again, like nearly killed me. But yeah, you get the timing right. And like Chris said, we do try and consider everybody, but like, it's just amazing what's popping up on the calendar here. And not just here, but all around Australia. There's so many events now. And there's people that are obviously traveling interstate and over to New Zealand to do these events, like, regularly. So it's a big industry now. And with Rapid Ascent as well, those guys with the Margaret River Ultra, that's another really big event that people are coming in interstate from as well. So all things considered, we do our best, I think.
In addition to that, you're also kind of providing timing services, aren't you, for other events like the Bustleton run that was only a couple of weeks ago? Is that correct?
That's another thing that just kind of happened. So it was just that obviously I was doing my own timing for my own events, and then some other events reached out to see if I could do their timing, and then that's how I've ended up doing other events for timing. That's basically the story behind that. I think we do a very good job with timing. Where we've spent many years doing it, so it's something that we do well, and it's a very specialised and difficult thing to do. People just don't understand like how hard event timing is. So if you're listening, please be patient with the event timers and don't come up to them every 5 seconds and tell them that their time is wrong, because they probably already know and they're trying to fix it at the time you decide it.
You do timing services, you're doing event organizing, and you're also running Runningworks, the store as well. So how do you find that balance? And is it a case of knowing that you can only do those 6 events because that's all the time that you really have to put in a good effort into those events? And so how has that shifted your thinking in terms of like to help out another event with timing, for example?
There's no doubt I'm pretty busy.
You're a busy man.
And I think just after each event that I have, I don't think I'm ever going to do another, like add an extra one to it. And end up that it happens. Thanks, Curtis. It's probably his fault that's happened.
I think we're almost full. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah, which we probably have another new one next year.
A lot of time, like everyone else, is still that's so much time goes into the prep of it as well. And I don't think people, see that a lot. Like if I was doing it on my own, or Chris was doing everything on his own, which he does a lot on his own, it's just it really gets you, when you've got a family and you're working, other jobs, it's you
spend a lot of time and you just want to make the best experience you can for people. I do it now. Like I do go to an event, I'm like, that's a lot of time spent like trying to get that people organising it. Right. So I always like come up and go, but thanks for the event. I can see that you've done a lot. Like I've done a lot for it.
People are super grateful. Like I think the running community, there's just great people involved as well. And and I've said this to Chris a couple of times. It's just one of those like sort of communities where you can just leave your bag. You leave your, I won't say too much, but all your belongings are there. And it's just a good environment. You don't worry about it, and I don't know that there's that many kind of, communities or events that you just feel, people are good. People are still generally pretty good.
I tell you what, it's a lot better than when I was playing squash. Because I think what happens when you're playing like a more individual sport is people are like, I just want that guy to lose. So when I play next round, he doesn't feel all that great about his game. But in running, you're like, I hope you go and get a PB today because, you're much better running than me anyway. So it doesn't matter if you get a 2-hour marathon today. I'll be happy for you.
That's it. I think that's what we find in terms of the running community as well. I think more often, and particularly the WA running community as well, it's so small. So it means that you can't afford to be a dickhead anyway.
That's true, actually.
So we've got Lark Hill this coming Saturday on the 1st of March.
Yeah.
Tell us about this event on Saturday. So what are the distances and how are the preparations going?
We are super pumped for this event. We potentially see it as our biggest event because what we're trying to do is create the most fun possible event you can be at. So it's in the evening. We're going to try to glow up the course a bit, get around, enjoy the course. We've got an MC, DJ. People that haven't run it, basically what it is you run around a homestead after each lap. So you're running around basically an old building, all open, like inside, like it's like broken up walls and stuff, like an old homestead. And the atmosphere, we want to create the biggest atmosphere we can. So when people are running around, you're getting cheered on.
Got the music.
Can you hear the music during your loop as well? It's just a short loop, but we've created it like the short loop is because we want to create an atmosphere where you can keep coming back. Not having to. It's a trail run, so you don't have to have your hydration vest on you when you're running. Just all these little bits and pieces that we think will potentially will be more.
Yeah, it'll just be more of an atmosphere where people can come and cheer you on.
It's for if it's for someone that just wants to come and enjoy the day of a trail run, and it's also great if you're a competitor and you really want to go out and try to win the race because we've got different events for everyone. So like I was saying before, we got the multi-stage ultra, which now anyone can finish. And you win 4 medals. We're going to give you free socks.
Socks. Steigers. Very, very good socks, I tell you what. These aren't Kmart socks, that's for sure.
So Let us tell you quickly a bit about the mega multi-stage race. So what it is it's a 4-stage race. The first you do the half marathon, and you've got 3 hours to do it because it's a much easier course than what we had at multi-stage. So it's all pretty flat on limestone, and you do your 3 hours. Just say you finish in 2 hours and 30. You got 30 minutes before the next race starts. Then you do it again. So you win that half marathon medal, and then you do the half marathon again, and then you win a marathon medal. Then you have 3 hours for that. And so so you just say you do that one in 2.5 hours. You got 30 minutes before the next one starts. Next one starts. You got to do 7.8k, which equals 50k, which is an ultra marathon. You'll get a medal for that. Mm-hmm. And then the last one, you got 6 hours to do 30Ks at the very end to get the 50 miler medal. Yep. And we have a special little plate and everything for you. So we just want to make it an event where you might be an hour and 10 minute half marathoner running, and your friend might be a 2 hour and a half, and it's just and your best mates, and you actually want to run together and have some fun. Well, this is the kind of event we want those people to do,
and the social runners as well, like to meet people as well, for that interaction too, running community. Yeah, it's a really good atmosphere and good environment.
And sorry, the last stage is where you win the medals and win your you come first, second, or third. So the last stage is the only one that counts to actually come first, second, or third. So that's when you race the last stage. So the rest, the first three are just for complete fun.
Just a warm up.
Just a warm up for the last 30K.
Psychological game needs to be strong.
We've also got a kids 3K race was really popular last year, because there's probably not a lot of kids races out there, especially for a little trail race, and it was really super popular. So we have a 3K race, and we wanted the parents to go out with their kids. It's free of charge for the parents to run with their kid. And we got an 8K event, a 25K, a 50K, and 100. And then those ones you can be as competitive as you like in those other ones. And you tell me a bit about the loop.
The loop is nice limestone, undulating, and there's a little bit of sand in it, not much, and it's not super soft, but 300 meters. But it's just a nice little flowy track, and it's nothing too sort of crazy. It's what you're used to, probably
for a trail course. It's really easy, right?
I think the beauty of a loop course like that, though, is that you, as you mentioned, if you have got friends with you or you've got family coming to watch you, you get that opportunity to see each other so frequently.
Exactly, and that was one of the things behind why we do all our trail events. Is actually after each loop we come back to the start and finish. So for Heaven and Hell we have 4 loops, and each loop, so 4 different loops, and each loop ends back at the start and finish. And the same thing with Three Valleys. So we have 2 loops, a 10K and a 15K loop, and both of them start back at the start and finish. And we've also got a relay in that one at Three Valleys. We're hoping that people will get onto, because for a relay, you've got 4 people doing the relay, doing a 50K ultra, and you don't have to go anywhere. You finish back at the start and finish area. So you can be there together. You don't have to drive around, and also the showers.
Showers, toilets, coffee there, of course. But it's just a beautiful area as well. You're right near the dam.
You're on the dam.
It's
you can have a
little spot if you haven't been. It's so good for, like Chris said, so good for teams. It's just it's perfect.
No, it's an exciting calendar, guys, and no doubt. You're going to have a few people there next Saturday at Lark Hill. I believe we've been advertising the last couple of weeks with a bit of a promo code for our listeners. I think it's WARP for the first. So it's $50 off, and the first 10 users get a free pair of Steigen socks, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. Can I say also, if anyone's actually already entered the Lark Hill Party Ultra, just hit us up and we'll give you a $50 voucher for Heaven and Hell or Three Valleys. Because we don't want to. One thing is I hate is like you buy something and then it's cheaper the next day. We want to look after all those people that have done Lark Hill.
No, that's awesome. No, I'm sure the listeners will appreciate that, guys. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to both of you, Curtis and Chris. Really looking forward to seeing how the events go this year, and thank you for joining us on the WA Running Podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for having us.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much to Chris and Curtis for joining us. It was great to have them and hear all about the Runningworks history and their event series. I'll quickly touch on some upcoming events here. So we've got the Perth Track Classic on the 1st of March, this Saturday. Looks like there's some big dogs, as we mentioned or alluded to in the start of the episode. We've got, in the 1500, we've got Peyton Craig, who made the semis at Paris in the 800 metres. We've also got friend of the show, Jesse Hunt, probably one of the favourites there to take out the men's 1500, and Callum Davies, who won gold at the 2023 Odds Champs in the 1500 and the 5,000 metres. In the women's, we've also got some international names here, which such as Sophie O'Sullivan, a national champ and Paris Olympian on behalf of Ireland. We've got Laura Nagel, who's the 2024 Oceania champ in the 1500, and she's running from New Zealand. We've got Maudie Skyring from Australia. She's an on-athlete. We've got Natalie Rule, who represented Australia at the 5,000 at the Com Games in 2022. In the 400, we've got Adam Kopp, and as you mentioned earlier in the episode, Alana Jukic competing there in the 400 metres. So it looks to be like a pretty good spread of events there. They're offering a children's event prior to the meet, where you can bring one adult and one kid into the gates for $65. The kid gets a shirt, they get to compete on the track and throw a javelin. So I mean, I think I'll be taking my boy down to see what he's capable of.
Not going to compete against the kids like we usually do in the 3Ks and 4K events.
I think if they're under 12, it's probably suspicious, isn't it?
Yeah, no, fair call. We'll move on to other upcoming events. We've got, like we said earlier, the Runningworks Lark Hill Ultra. Looks like registrations are still open. I just checked before we started recording.
We've also got the Secret Rocky Runners Beachside Run on Sunday, 9th of March. That's Simon's big race for the next month. So if anyone's out there looking to take out the half marathon, by all means, jump down to Rockingham and see some nudists on the beach.
We've also got the Canning River Running Works Festival, which is the following Sunday. So if you're taking it seriously, I suggest that you sign up to that event and not the Secret Rocky Runners one. We've got the 10K half marathon and marathon, and I will be pacing the marathon to 30Ks or the 3-hour 30 bus. So very excited to get permission from Tina to run that. Should be fun on the 16th of March there. On at the same time is the Marathon Club Darlington Half Marathon, which has distances of 8K and 21Ks. And then later in March, we've got the Hurdy's Front Yard, which it seems like a lot of people are starting to do their recce runs for. So that's Friday, the 21st of March. And then, like I said earlier, we've got the Collie Trail Fest. That's on the 29th of March. Let's wrap the episode up with our weapons of war.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, there's a few Hurdy's recce runs going on at the moment, including a very avid listener of the show, Charles Bolsfeld, and his partner Tamala. They hosted a local backyard event over the week, and it was in support of Laura Firth, who is one of the WA runners undertaking the Bravehearts Marathons, which is 7 marathons in 7 states over 7 days. That little event apparently had about 80 people at it, so not so small, but obviously very helpful for raising funds for Laura there. And just to note that Bravehearts is a charity whose mission is to provide a coordinated and holistic approach to the prevention and treatment of child sexual abuse. Obviously a very worthy cause, and we'll be keeping tabs on how that goes. We had a couple of Team Tina mentions here, Simon. I'm not sure if you wanted to run through them or if I will, but I will mention Shaf Burry, who he was running the 2x20 minute tempo workout that you had been scheduled for Saturday, but he did his tempo at 3:42s at 185 beats per minute, breaking a 10K PB at the same time. So not so much tempo, but nevertheless a very strong run from Shaf there.
Yeah, I don't know what Tina thinks about that, to be honest. I mean, she's all for going fast, but I don't know if that running at a 3:42 tempo effort by Shaf's standards, but it does. He's gone to Gold Coast, so Shaf and I pretty much have a very similar marathon plan. He's definitely way fitter than me, that's for sure. So I don't think he's running sub 3. Well, not only is he running sub 3, I think he'll be joining your 2-hour 50 bus, I think, at Gold Coast. With the way
mate, he can run ahead of me if he's running 3:42s for tempo.
Yeah, exactly. We've got Vicky Richardson, who's unfortunately carrying a bit of a calf niggle, but she's determined to make it to the Hurdy start line. So instead of running, she's decided to swim her way to the Hurdy start line. So a lot of swimming over the last week at the very least. So I don't know if we celebrate this as a weapon or we mark this as suspicious behaviour, but nonetheless a weapon in the lead up to Hurdy's. Shall we cover our final weapon, which is Matt Maguire?
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like all of the former Warp hosts are starting to run more. Sinead's been back for a while post baby, so she's looking her runs have been looking really good. Dan seems to be back and in a singlet, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he's rocking the Team Tina shirt I saw from some of the photos I saw on Facebook. So it looks like he's getting back into it.
Yeah, the whispers are rife on what Dan's plans are for the next 12 months. But the weapon of the week for us is Matt Maguire. We had Matt sending Dan text messages while watching golf and running on a treadmill. So not only is he an accomplished runner, but he's also very good at multitasking. And his reasons for running these days have changed. He's not so much looking to run a quick, sub 2:30 marathon. He's actually just looking to fit inside his pants for his wedding. So good to see you running, Matt. Stop watching golf and get on the roads.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see the old Warp hosts getting back into it. Maybe they're trying to get back on the podcast because I think in their last episode, they were keen to join us as guest hosts, yet we've not invited them back since. So I don't know. Should we get them back sometime soon, or?
I think we have to put it out to a vote on Instagram, I reckon.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think we probably need to bring the Transcend team together at some point because it seems like Crap have locked in some of their team members. So we probably do need to do a special sometime soon.
Definitely. Yeah, we'd love to do that, obviously. And it's always interesting hearing some of Dan's whispers in the Warp admin chat every week. So there's always a few rumors floating about that we sometimes choose to share with the listeners and other times not. But it's good.
Sometimes too inappropriate to air. And finally, I guess while we're in admin, I know we talked about whether or not we get Matt Smurelli on the podcast. Do we have him next week or shall we leave it for another couple of weeks?
I think we have a good idea as to when we can get Matt on the podcast.
Not this week, hey?
Not this week, but it will be soon. Matt, you can just keep running with us for the next 8 weeks and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see you on Thursday. All right, that's it for us in this week's episode. You can reach out to us on Instagram at the WA Running Pod. Our email is warunningpodcast@gmail.com. Our Strava group is Warp. And that's it for us in this week's episode, and we'll catch you next week.
See you guys.
It's been a while.
Very good.